And then you got these other people that are saying, well, I'm going to stay on the medications or the drugs because I want to eat what I want to eat. That's a lack of control. That's where you cannot control your animal desires. Welcome to the Health Quest Podcast, your guide to God's will for good health. Hello, my name is Dr. Sal, and I've been a practicing doctor and surgeon for well over 30 years. And my goal for each episode is that you'll be able to have your mind transformed to God's design for good health, as well as affect the way that you eat and the way that you live. If you're new here, we release a new episode every week, and if you enjoy the content, would you please leave us a good review? It really helps our ratings and allows our show to reach out to more people and in turn help more people change their lives. We'd like to thank you for your support. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about what's it going to take. That's right. What's it going to take to change your ways? Jesus said, I love you. I hate your ways. So what are you going to do to change your ways? Now, what prompted me to talk about this on my show? Well, it's the new year, and everybody's coming up with their New Year's resolution. Wonderful. 90% of the people's new resolution is, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to lose the 50 pounds. You go to the gym right now, January and February, the gyms are packed with people. And by March and April, 90% of these people are gone. The gyms make out because, of course, you put your membership on a credit card, and all they do is they just, charge every month. And then you keep saying, well, I'm going to go. Okay, to me, the gym is really not so much as important as it is what you eat. The last couple of weeks, I met a 74 or 76-year-old lady who was working out. We started a conversation, and she was saying some things about her health, and she says, well, I'm on 6 different medications. I said, well, you could change that by changing the way that you eat and diet. And, of course, I was introducing her to my podcast. And she says, oh, no. I'm not going to give up my sweets and my cookies and my cupcakes. I'll just keep taking the medications. And I'm thinking, you're taking 6 drugs that have side effects that can affect you later on in life. And it doesn't guarantee that it's going to really improve your health, because all you're doing is you're treating the disease and you're not restoring your health. We start to see and we start to make this comparison and contrast. And I'm going to show you this video of this friend of mine by the name of Harry. And Harry is 87 years old. And you see here, he's punching the heavy bag. Now, he's 87 years old here, folks. Now, Harry's got a 6th-degree black belt in Shotokan martial arts, and then he's got a 3rd degree in another form of martial arts. So he started off as a boxer, then he got into the martial arts, and so this is just a video with him with the gloves. This isn't the karate video that I have of him where he's actually kicking the heavy bag. 87 years old, and you could see how this man is hitting the heavy bag. Now, you should see him in the gym and how much he's pushing these weights for repetitions after repetition. And I said, Harry, what's this, key to your, what's the secret? He said to me, Sal, 70 years ago when I walked into this gym, there was a gentleman by the name of Joe Weider. I said, Joe Weider's gym on the East Coast, because Harry's originally from New York. And he was saying how Joe Weider at the time, before Joe Weider built up his bodybuilding empire in the International Federation of Bodybuilders and created the Mr. Olympia, he said, Harry, you got to eat fresh fruits and vegetables every day. So Harry picked up on this, and he's been living that lifestyle ever since. And so he was 17 years old, so that's 70 years ago that he started doing that. Well, at that time, in American agriculture, foods were much more natural. They were untainted with all these pesticides and fungicides and herbicides and fertilizers and all these preservatives that they put in them, colors and so forth. And so he realized that eating fresh fruits and vegetables was just basically eating whole foods. So there were no candy bars. He stayed away from all the excess sweets. Harry works out at the gym at 87, and he introduced me to his 80-year-old wife, who also works out. And, of course, she cooks these meals. Now, they're out in Arizona, and, of course, now they shop at the Whole Foods and at Sprouts, which is another organic food chain that they have down in the Southwest. And he says that's all we eat everything is organic. They eat all whole foods. He says very rarely does he touch any alcohol and never smokes, and he works out. 87 years old, and you could see that in the video. This is an 87-year-old man. He's not walking with the walker. He doesn't have any health issues where he's taking any medications. You know, this goes along with my mother and my aunt. My mother's 84, my aunt's 86. They don't take any medications, but they watch what they eat. They're cleaning their house. They're cleaning their garages. They're always physically active. So you start to see the lifestyle. We talk about how all of this stuff is genetics, and it's a bunch of baloney. What's happened in recent years is the research industry has pumped a lot of money into identifying genetic disorders, and they've been coming short-handed because as much as they're trying to manipulate the genes, they're not getting the results that they thought they were going to get. A lot of these health disorders that we see, and there's about 32,000 of them, is pretty much metabolic. And the way to alter our metabolic processes, increase our metabolic rate, is by the foods that we eat. It's not so much what you say and comes out of your tongue or out of your mouth. It's so much as it is what you put in your mouth. So for a person to come up to me, and so here's a comparison and contrast. You got Harry and other people like Jack LaLanne on one side, and then you got other people that are on medications, and they think that by going to the gym, remember, exercising at the gym is only 15% of your health. The rest of the 85 is what you put in your mouth. You got to remember that if you want to talk about environmental interaction with our body, it's one thing to put something through your IV, but when you ingest something by way of your mouth, you're taking something environmental on the outside and you're taking it and putting it inside your body, at which time your gastrointestinal system is the one that's breaking all this down and absorbing everything that you have in there. So you got chemicals, you got preservatives, you got pesticides, you got artificial coloring and artificial flavoring. These things our bodies were not designed to handle. God gave us a detoxifying system, yes, to work in an environment where we get exposed to natural mercury or natural tin or natural aluminum, but not stuff that's used in our vaccines or our injections or preservatives or in our cans and so forth. What's happened is we've gotten a toxic overload. So we've got to go back again to, that's why I call the paleo diet God's diet, because you're basically eating off the land and eating everything that's supposed to be the way God intended for us to eat them. He didn't intend for us to eat meat that's got hormones or chickens that have injected with steroids to build them up or to even stimulate more egg production. Fascinating. My father grew up on a farm, and he said we used to get an egg once every 2-3 days from a chicken. Now you get 2-3 eggs a day because they're pumping them with drugs. That's the stuff that we're taking in, folks. Plus what's out there in the environment from an industrialized state, from the aluminum, from the mercury, from the lead, from the cadmium, everything that we put into our soil and put into the air as well as our water that we're consuming. Our bodies are absorbing this. And, of course, that disrupts our natural gut microbiome or the bacteria that should be there. And then when that gets disrupted, causes leaky gut, and then it just turns into a chain reaction of damage. So, again, we got Harry here making a choice, being in the Garden of Eden and saying, I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to eat what God wanted me to eat. And then you got these other people that are saying, well, I'm going to stay on the medications or the drugs because I want to eat what I want to eat. That's a lack of control. That's where you cannot control your animal desires. It comes down to discipline. God's D word is discipline. Satan's D word is distraction. I could have this. Well, this is once in a while. What's once in a while? Every 15 minutes or every half hour? This is where all of this confusion comes up, is that we come up with these excuses all because we want to satisfy this desire, this want. And we become incontinent with that. And what I mean by incontinent is that God has given us the power and the choice to live a better life, to improve our health, to actually enhance our health. And so what we end up doing, we subject reason to desire or rationality to impulse. And this is what I'm saying is that if you have God in your life, if you are trying to be like Jesus, then you're rational. You're thinking. And when you implement the discipline of saying, I'm not supposed to eat this, you are now using God's power to turn away from the stuff that makes you sick. So I want to thank you for joining us on today's show. And forgive me for these hiccups that I've had. I've been trying to get rid of them. But if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave us a good review and visit our website and connect with us more on our social media accounts. If you happen to have any questions regarding your health, regarding this episode, my email will be in the description below, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. We do carry a lot of sources, and the sources are all scientific, either from science journals or medical journals in the research. And we usually give a list of that for every episode. But a lot of stuff that I talked about today, you could see it in pretty much a lot of the other episodes that I presented before in the past. With that, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dr. Sal. Have a great day, and God bless.